better watch out if you ignite me's a road ahead of full prophecy to be the greatest beast the world has ever seen. I feed him every day, leave the bones clean. I feed him all the hate and he grows me. And he gets claws real big, pissed off quick. And if you cross him, you might drop dead. Metaphorically, of course, settling the score. Never getting bored, loves the blood and gore. Always wanting more freedom from the source. They don't really understand until they feel the force departed. If you start shit, you'll be heartless in the darkness. Torn apart quick, you'll
All right, everybody, welcome into Real Talk with Spoon and Pudding, the Christmas Eve edition, I guess.
Yeah, well, you just got off this morning don't have to work tonight, so you're lucky.
No, we're supposed to, but they put an axe to it last night before lunch, so there was a lot of happy people.
I wouldn't say a lot. Y'all was going to be a skeleton crew anyway, right?
Well, you got to figure all the people with the roof. There was a lot of them. A lot of them were saying they weren't coming in. Then that probably had a factor in the decision.
Well, as soon as the workers don't show up, I guess they might as well just close.
Yep. Well,
You can control
purposes.
Oh, go ahead.
The primary podcast is to educate and share thoughts and opinions. When we have proof and evidence on a topic, it will be brought forth. This podcast does not constitute advice or services to anyone. Spoon and Pudding do not accept any responsibility or liability for anyone or our guests or anyone's comments or actions based on material we talk about on our podcast. This podcast is private, non-commercial use, and everyone should ascertain the information we provide is correct and verified at all times. There shall be no adding to, editing, or reproduction of this podcast without prior written permission from Spoon and Pudding. Reach us at realtalkwithspoonandpudding@gmail.com.
No, I was going to say, you can close your job. Anybody can close their job. Whether you're going to get paid for it or not, that's another story.
Yeah, if you stick together, you can close it.
Yeah.
Well, we want to dive right into the.
Well, we can dive into our one main topic, I guess. We got. We ain't really had a lot of time to talk this week, but so had somebody local here that sent me some articles. He sent me two articles. One's not there no more. Did you get the 404 page not found on that one?
Yeah.
So that one's gone, but this other one isn't. So here's the gist of this article. You want to read it?
Yeah.
But
yeah. So amid lackluster participation in the private school voucher program, Governor Bill Lee may move Tuesday to begin offering private school vouchers for every student statewide, regardless of family income. Lee introduced his plan dubbed the Education Freedom Scholarship Act, which will set up a fund separate from the state's K-12 funding formula to offer money to 20,000 students, possibly $7,000 each in 24 and 25 for vouchers, and expand to all students, roughly 1 million, the following year to attend private schools. Students who have a disability or are eligible for the existing Education Savings Account program would be allowed to receive the funds. What I believe to be possible is that it's possible that we can have the best public school system in the country and that we can provide choice for every Tennessee family in the state, Lee said during a press conference at Tennessee State Museum in Nashville. Those two things can happen if we stay focused and make certain it is not about school or a system or a strategy as much as it's about a child and their future. I'm going to stop right there because me and you both know Governor Bill Lee or any other politician does not care about our children and their education. It's all backed by what? It's all backed by money.
Well,
their agenda.
Retirement funds or where they can shift government funds. So
Governor Lee was booed by Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who noted the nation is entering a conservative education revolution. Vouchers are a scam. They steal public tax dollars from our neighborhood schools and give them to wealthy families to create a coupon system for their private school private school tuition. I agree with her. House Speaker Cameron Sexton and Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally also spoke in favor of the plan, which is expected to be difficult to pass in the legislature, despite being the governor's priority in 2024. Funding will be made available the first year for 10,000 students whose families are at 300,000 of the federal poverty level, about $90,000 for a family of four, and 10,000 for a pool of students in public schools during the 25-26 school, all students would be eligible for the funds. Asked whether the state should take funds from the proposed scholarship fund and steer them towards K-12 education, Lee said the state will continue to invest in public schools. The Lee administration injected an extra $1 billion into K-12 schools 2 years ago and promised to push the teacher's starting pay to $50,000 by the end of his second term in 3 years. Tennessee Educator Commissioner Lizzie Gonzalez Reynolds told the governor during recent budget hearings that more than 2,400 students have been approved to receive vouchers in Metro Nashville, Shelby, and Hamilton counties during Hamilton County school districts. But some education leaders say the number of students using the funds is closer to 700 because of problems with transportation and other logistics. So, you're going to run into that too. The Education Savings Account program, which was delayed for 2 years by court battles, was allowed to have 5,000 students in its first year and increased by 2,500 students annually for the next 4 years of its pilot program if it reached 75% capacity. The American Federal for Children Pro Voucher Group pointed out most legislation are passing universal school programs. Governor Bill Lee understands that the parents know their child best, and all parents should be able to access the best K-12 education for their family's unique needs, the group said in a statement. Critics of the voucher program say they take critical money away from public schools and undermine entire districts. That's true. In a Tuesday press conference, Democrats said stats show students who use vouchers do not perform as well academically as traditional public school students. Senator,
I'm on the fence. Sorry. I'm gonna be on the fence about that one because it depends on the public school. I'm sure there's some where teachers just sitting up there couldn't care less. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, the whole thing is when we're talking about this, Governor Bill Lee's want to act like he cares about our children and their education. Like I said, him or any other politician don't. If they did, they would get the government out of our schools and let the states run each school system. But they don't, because they want to manipulate the system to get that federal money so they can funnel it.
Well, the first, I'll let you. I was going to say Neil Bortz is the first person that I heard that made the comment about what's wrong with the school system. Go ahead. Sorry.
Lamar called it a method for separating from middle class and affluent students. Furthermore, Democrats said the spread of vouchers would wind up forcing local school districts to either cut teachers in sports such as football or raise taxes as public funds go toward private schools, which is true. With juvenile crime spiraling in Memphis, the division of public dollars to private schools will only make things worse. I think that's a whole different issue, but I'm gonna skip that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Well, there's a lot of issues around school. I mean, schools, and it's a hot button topic because a lot of people have kids, so a lot of people they want to talk about that. And the person who made the most sense was Neil Bortz. When I listened to him, oh God, it was 13 years ago or something. It was a long time ago. But Neil Bortz had made the comment. He said, we spend the most on public schools. This country spends the most on schooling, yet we rank in the 20s and 30s when it comes to education. He said, is that because we're not spending enough, or is it because we're getting exactly what we're paying for?
Getting exactly what you're paying for.
Getting exactly what they're paying for. They want people who are smart enough to take orders and operate the lines and not just be a bunch of buffoons but not smart enough to ask questions. That's right. What he said. And if you go historically back in time and start looking through things, the people who gave the Germans the biggest problem when they were on their Blitzkrieg march across Africa were some of the uneducated tribal people in Africa. They gave the Germans a hell of a fight. And they were surprised. And what they learned was you go after the extremely smart people and the extremely stupid people. They're really hard to control. So they want you somewhere in the middle, nice, comfortable, right in the middle. That's why this school system in this country pays so much money, more than any other country in the world, and we're not turning out in the top 10.
Nope.
And I've seen schools like
It's ridiculous.
Well, there are schools, there are public schools like Mount Carmel, Indiana. I remember seeing a story on that school. It looks like, I mean, just absolutely like you would think that just the money in that school was, they were getting double the funding, maybe triple the funding of the other schools. You would believe that because they had everything was nice. The students cared. They had all these programs going, and it's a public school, you know, based on, say, one in Indianapolis, not far away, you know, like say an inner city school. No, the truth is, when you actually break it down, both schools are getting the exact same funding. The truth was that Mount Carmel budgets the money a bunch better, and the parents and the teachers all care and they're involved, and they put the money towards the right things. And some of the teachers do it, you know, more like pro bono, I guess you'd say would be the correct word. They work, but they don't mind, you know, they tell the unions to piss off and they take less money. So with that said, an inner city Shelby County school in Memphis is generally getting the same money as, say, a Mount Juliet school here in Tennessee that maybe be nicer, or Hermitage, I don't know. Hermitage is a mixed town, ain't it? It's kind of
Brentwood or
Brentwood.
Yeah, they're all getting the same. But even if you went to the private school program, it's not going to be any different.
Mm-hmm.
Your private school in Brentwood is going to be much nicer. It's going to be managed a whole lot better than your private school somewhere in the inner city of Memphis or Detroit or wherever it is. It's just that.
I mean, well, you know, the busing system would be, there's a whole bunch of issues that have to go through. And I do remember when Obama said he liked the Tennessee Promise idea. He wished that the whole country could move towards Tennessee Promise, where people could go and get 2 years of free college. You know, another thing I heard here recently that how college is a scam is, you know, you, Spoon, or me, we're perfectly allowed. We can walk in any college in the country and we can sit down in any professor's classroom in the country and sit through the whole class, and they can't kick us out. And if they try to, they come up and say, well, who are you? I said, I'm just doing an audit. If you say the words, I'm doing an audit, they'll leave you alone because you're auditing the curriculum, and they'll let you sit there. So you could sit there for literally 4 years for free, but they're not going to give you a degree. You pay for the degree. Right. You know, you'll get just as much learning sitting there as somebody who's paying for the degree free, Absolutely. But you can't get the degree. MIT put almost all their curriculum online a decade ago. If you wanted to go read their curriculum, it was online, free of charge. You know, the scam of college is you got to get the degree to show you're smart, and that doesn't show intelligence. And people forget that.
Well, we're fixing to get into the good stuff. This is what I was telling you earlier. I think Bill Lee should step down.
Okay, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
People should call for him to step down.
On a side note for the local people, this is more going to be a local show, I guess. But on a side note, the person who sent this to me, I'm not going to name his name, but he said Lamberth is heavily involved and tied up in this scam. So go ahead.
Professional Educators of Tennessee also issued a statement Tuesday criticizing the plan, saying it has the potential to severely impact the financial stability of Tennessee public schools, which are undergoing a new funding formula designed to attach specific amounts to students and a new letter grade system based on the student achievement on state tests rather than improvement. Lee made private school vouchers his first major initiative when he entered office in 2019. In the House vote, through former Speaker Glenn Cassada, held the board open for nearly 45 minutes to work the chamber for a tiebreaker, offering lawmakers incentives to pass the measure. Did you hear what I just said?
Mm-hmm.
She held it open for 45 minutes while the biggest crime in American history happened, the lobbying, the buying votes. That should never happen, but it happens all the time in our government system, and it's allowed. Ultimately, Republican Jason Zachary of Knoxville changed his vote and supported the bill with the understanding Knox County schools would not be made a voucher district. So he made a deal, got him some incentives, and said, hey, I'll give you my vote as long as you keep it out of my county. The voucher bill did not pass. The voucher bill was purchased on the balcony of the Tennessee House, said Republican Bo Mitchell, Democrat in Nashville. Oh, Representative Bo Mitchell, Democrat in Nashville. He noted for 43 minutes that Casada kept the vote board open. The former speaker brought in state troopers, blocked Democrats from going out on the balcony, and used the sergeant at arms to keep them away. Two gentlemen who are now federally indicted because of Lee in this plan were both on their phone talking to someone. He said, I don't know who, but they were talking about what they could offer to get more votes. An FBI investigation ensued amid claims that Casada offered perks such as the rank of general to former Republican or former Representative John Mark Wendell, who was a colonial in the National Guard. Former State Representative Kent Caff has said he overheard Casada say he would call the governor to see if he could get a promotion for Wendell. Caff said he visited the governor's office to talk about the situation. Casada denied the claim, and Lee has distanced himself from the matter. See right there, he's guilty by association. Now he wants to run from the chaos he created. Hey, y'all offer these and get the votes, but when the shit hits the fan, I'm going to run the other way. Yeah, sounds like a Trump to me. Let's not pardon the guys that we led into the Capitol. And Lee has distanced himself from the matter, even though he also called House members to try to win their votes that April day in 2019. The FBI never filed any charges in connection with the vote, but Casada and his former chief of staff, Cade Cothran, face federal fraud charges in connection with kickbacks involving a campaign vendor run secretly by Cothran.
I'm trying to figure out how to.
What do you think about that?
Oh no, I understand what it is. It's I mean, I've already told you my opinion. I mean, I went a bit further, and like I said, the guy who shared that with me, he watches all these state rep meetings. He's, I know you and Dillard like to watch the city meetings a lot, but I don't know. I'll sit back and wait and see, and try to look at it from all perspectives and try to come with an idea. Trying to figure out how to copy that link and put it in our comments. I mean, I got the link to that article copied. I can always do it, I guess, later. I'll just tag it on the YouTube comments, or I guess I can always share it to the other phone that's linked to the Facebook and then post it there. But that whole article, basically and the guy I was talking to, he said he can't. He said, I'm not voting for Trump. I'm tired of it. Because the Republicans they're just the same. They're Democrat light. That's really all they are. It's, socialist light.
Or our system's already broke, and you're not going to fix it by continuing to vote the same way. I don't care if you're sitting here and you're saying you're 75 years old and you've been a certified Democrat since you were 18. All right. So let's say you're 78. 60 years you've been a certified Democrat. Guess what? In 60 years, all you've done is help create the problem. Same thing if you're a 78-year-old Republican, saying you've been a Republican since you were 18. All you've done in the last 60 years is help create the problem. And you're not going to fix the problem by keep voting in the same son of bitches who want to control this country. Okay? That would be taking Hitler out and putting Stalin in. Would that fix it?
Well, yeah. Well, it's like, Hitler's the bad guy. He was number 3. We got to bring Stalin and Mao from the left and the right. It's like, what are you talking about, guys?
Yeah, you got to go with the lesser of two evils. Stalin's going to be it.
Yeah, well, Stalin only got 40 million people or 20 million, whatever the hell it was. Mao was 60 million people when you count famine and everything else.
Here's the reality. I know me and you disagree on the religion thing. But in this country, if you had Hitler running as a Republican, Stalin running as a Democrat, and Jesus running independent, Stalin
would be a landslide for one of the two.
Stalin or Hitler is going to be president. Okay.
Well, I shared that meme a long time ago. It had Satan as a Republican, and then Democrat was a demon, and then Jesus was running as a libertarian, and all of a sudden it was landslide, Satan wins.
Yep. That's exactly how it would be.
People, but I mean, I can't. I hope my hope, and hope's a dangerous word because it gives people a promise for the future, or that the future has a chance. My hope for the future is always that the system is just, there have been a lot more people voting libertarian. But there's so many people that are proud to tell you, my patch says R, or my patch says, D. It's like, well, whatever, man. It's still the school system, and all it takes, if you watch some of these, the 1980 defector from the KGB, he talked about how to control the society, how to bring it down. All it takes is one turning. 20 years to really affect massive outcome. And they knew it. They've known this for years. This guy sat on a chalkboard in the 1980s and spelled it all out for us, and nobody paid attention to it.
But of the children, you could turn the whole country.
Yeah, 20 years. And right now, what are we coming out with on these Zeds? The Gen Zers, and what's to come next after that? I mean, I don't, schools.
Merry Christmas, Tammy and Rita, and everybody else out there in Facebook land.
Okay. Well, so Neal Boortz wrote this book, and this was one of my, I lived in Jacksonville when this happened.
Jacksonville.
So oh yeah, Jacksonville, Florida. But so this is the book, Neal Boortz. Okay, the fair tax book.
We don't like you.
I know you don't like us when we beat you Tennesseans, but that's all right. We got the volunteers number. Anyway, so Red or Eric, I was listening to Neal Boortz. This is back in like 06, 07. He was on in Florida a lot. I think his Orlando was his home station. My hometown. But anyway, he was talking about schools. He was talking about his fair tax book, and I was listening to it, and I was all for it. I was like, man, that's perfect. Fair tax. That's perfect. That's perfect. And I hadn't read the book. I had just heard about it on his show. And I went to Eric and I was talking to Eric, and, Eric read one night, and we were chatting, and he said, you ever read it? And I said, well, no. And he said, you need to read it. And we went to Orange Park, Florida. There's a mall there. There's a Books A Million or something in that mall. And he went right to the shelf, grabbed a book, opened it up, and he knew almost about where to go. So he fumbled through like about 10 stacks of pages somewhere in the middle. And there was redistribution in it. And I said, excuse me? And he said, yes. He said, according to the congressman and according to Neal Boortz, the only way that it would ever stand a chance is if they continued the wealth redistribution in there. And I said, well, then that's not a fair tax. He said, no, it's not. Because the wealth redistribution was based monthly instead of yearly. It was based on how many children you had. If you had no kids, you got nothing. If you had a kid, let's say each kid was worth $250 a month, redistributed back into your account. So if you had 8 kids, that's $2,000 a month. The government was basically going to pay you to just have 8 kids.
$1,250, baby. Choo-choo.
They all had to be kids, Mr. Spoon. You've been apparently, turning out posterity for 25 years, ain't it?
No, I'm talking about if it had when they were all kids, I'd be like $1,250. Ching ching.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, Shaniqua. Dashiki. Children, what do I tell you when you need a nice new man? Are you my daddy? Got that movie. Oh my God, the way that was hilarious. But
you kind of sound like Shanae.
That was, come on now. Don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. If y'all haven't seen it and you want a good ghetto laugh, that's it, man. That was the pinnacle, man. That's top.
I know the movie, but you kind of sounded like Shanae. You remember Shanae, don't you?
Oh yeah. Wasn't she on Martin Lawrence?
Yeah, the Martin show.
Yeah, but still, the point is, it was the government in Neal Boortz's book. He offered it up, monthly redistribution, and I was like, And it was a 2-part tax too. What I heard Neil Bart's selling was the sales tax, which I thought was great. That was perfect. Put a 5, 7, 8% tax on the register and just get your tax there for the Fed. This is a federal tax.
Right. Get out of our income.
Yes. Leave our checks alone. Don't touch our checks. But he also had a 10% on our checks federally, like a flat rate out of our checks going across the board. Everyone had to pay it. But again, you've got people working under the table, so you ain't going to get it that way. Right. If you did the sales tax, you would get it. You would get every penny of it. If you were here visiting from England or Italy, you would get them. People would go up to buy gas and go over to buy some cigarettes or a bottle of liquor, and they're going to pay federal tax. You've now taxed visitors to this country. Canada, doesn't matter where they're from. China, Japan, anything purchased in this country by a visitor, they are now paying a federal tax. Illegals, we've got a bunch of them. All right, so they're at Walmart buying their shoes. Now you're getting some tax from them. They're paying their federal sales tax. Yeah, they're now paying. We got to go buy this car. Oh, there's a federal tax on that car. Well, all right. I don't agree with retaxing used cars, but new cars, sure. Again, if you're a rich person here in town who walks into a dealership, knows which car you want, price is irrelevant, then you can afford to pay that 10% or 8% or whatever on that $80,000 car that you just have to have. Just like, somebody walks in there and says, well, what's the cheapest car I can get my hands on? I think is it a Kia Soul? Is that still one of the cheaper ones?
No, I don't think. I think Kia's, they've kind of like skyrocketed.
Well, whatever's one of the cheaper cars in this country. Oh no, it's that Mitsubishi, the Mirage. Ain't that it? Ain't that one of the cheapest cars in this country?
Maybe. Now,
okay, so
the Kias first come out, you get them for like $34.95 or something.
Yeah, they were dirt cheap, man. I mean, it was cheap. Just like a long time ago, Toyotas were cheap, and then they got a reputation, and then their resale held up higher. But still, if you have a 7 or 8% federal sales tax, you walk in, you buy a $20,000 car, you pay 7%, whatever. Let's just call it 7. And if you decide you want this $100,000 500 Mercedes that's got windshield wipers for the headlights, come on, how ridiculous. But I have seen it. Okay, you want the Tesla, whatever it is, whatever your preference is, it's $100,000. Well, go ahead and pay your $7,000 federal sales tax because you can afford it. I mean, you've made the choice. You could walk off that Taylor dealer, that Tesla, and go over and buy the Mirage if you want to.
Here's the thing: it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you can afford it or not. I mean, if you go to the flat tax, everybody doesn't matter if you're legal, if you're a visitor, mm-hmm. if you live here, everybody's paying their fair share. All right.
My company, your company, they're buying a semi truck, they're paying the federal tax. They're leasing the semi. If you lease a semi truck, you pay the tax.
There would not be any more tax evasion when it comes to these big $1 billion corporations because they would have to pay on everything they purchased.
Yeah, there's no forgiveness there. You got to buy a tire for that semi truck, pay your 7%. Cha-ching, government got it. No refund. I was thinking, and that was what me and Red, we hashed it out, and we said, man, that's the real 100% constitutional. The government can fairly claim 7%. You could lay off 90% of the IRS tomorrow. 90% of them is gone because all you need is 10% of what's out there to go and audit the merchants and make sure the merchants are forwarding 7% to them or whatever the number may be. Then a president could run, we're going to tighten our belt and we're going to lower that to 6%. There's your new run. Everyone gets it if they can do it, but it has to be budgeted right. And there's no way to turn this around. But what started this was this voucher system, which is just going to redirect money that the government ain't got, and they'll write the check. They don't care. So for people like Lambert
Because-
or Lee,
because
who want
the money is illusion anyway. Because all they do is print it. If they ain't got it, they
Yeah.
print it, and they ain't
Oh,
got it. You know, it's just like that.
well, they ain't
guy
had
that,
it. They ain't had it for decades, people. It's been 2
Well, it's like
decades
that
since they had any.
guy that started his podcast after we did. He said he called his bank up. It was like 2 weeks out. He was going to do his opening podcast, and he told him I need $250,000 cash. He said I want it to be part of my show when I open my podcast. And they're like, "Sir, it'll take us at least 3 or 4 weeks to get that money." He's like, 250,000 is not a lot of money. And they're like, "Well, still, it's going to take us 3 or 4 weeks to get it. And then when we get it, we're going to have an armed security guard to walk you out to your car. We're going to have armed police officers all around. Sure, you put it in your car and you drive away." And well, he delayed his podcast and set all that up. And then when he actually got to the bank, they only come up with like $100,000 instead of $250 in 3 or 4 weeks. So the money is not there.
There
They
was
print
this
it.
attorney.
But it's
Well, there
What's up,
was
Mr.
an
Barnes?
attorney. There was an attorney down in Nashville that went kind of viral here not long ago. She went in a bank without a mask on, and then the bank started giving her a bunch of shit about it. And she had like I think she said like $180,000 or something in the bank account. And when the bank told her she had to put a mask on, she said, "No, I don't." And they started just quoting, color law. The cops come up, and she's a damn attorney, so she knows the law. And
Right.
the cops come up, and the cops were called because she refused to leave. She said, "Give me my money." And they said, "We can't. We don't have it." It's like, "No, you go give me my cash." Whatever it was a big amount of cash, and they didn't have it. And she demanded her cash. She said, "Give me my cash. I'm leaving this bank. I'm taking it somewhere else." Basically, and again, that's what people don't understand about these banks. When the banks take your money in, it's a liability to them. They don't want that money. It's a liability. They want to get it off of their books as quick as possible. And so they'll transfer it over to there's the bank, the Fed repo facility. They can transfer it in there. And then when they transfer it in there, they're getting like a 5.5% rate return on it. So, but what are they offering you on your savings account, people? Some crumbs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they could go get it back, but they can't get it like now. This lady, she was demanding her money. She said, "I'm not leaving." She said, "You're not telling me I got to mask up because that's not a law. It's an ordinance." And, it was just, everybody's done with this COVID. But, again, you said government, they'll write the check. They just print it. They don't, they don't care.
Well,
They haven't had money.
Just like her wanting her money. They didn't have the money to give her, but they will write her a cashier's check to take to her bank,
Yeah.
So
To move it off of their books. It's on the backside hidden. But she was demanding cash. She said, "You are my bank. You are holding my assets, my cash. You're telling me I have to do something that is not law. You can call me. I do not want to do business with you no more. Get my cash." And they couldn't do it.
Here's the thing. Me and you could today, and we could go up to bank you and drop $100,000 to business account, right? A week later, we can go back and say we want our $100,000 back. They ain't gonna have it.
Don't have it.
They probably could give us 20.
I don't know how much they can give us, but the trucks are the amount of cash deposits that they have in these things. But the thing is, what people don't understand is like what me, you, and the other morning, what was it? So was it Saturday morning? We were talking about the fractional reserve banking and the massive hydra that's hiding behind the scenes that I don't think anybody has an idea how big it is. It's coming due because when the government writes a $30 trillion check, that money's got to go somewhere. It goes out to people. And what I was talking about the schools, to circle back to the school thing, you got schools in this district that are paying twice as much for the same products or the same repair as somebody in a district like, say, Mount Carmel, because that Mount Carmel school is definitely something y'all should look up. I'm sure if you look up Mount Carmel, Indiana school commercial, you'll find a lot on YouTube about it. It was very fascinating. Sure, yeah. But that school is looks like a college. I mean, looks like they have managed and budgeted their money well. They have found good contractors who probably have kids that go to this school and are willing to not rate the government so bad to put in a pool or put in some bleachers or do some repair work. Where you go into the inner city and somebody's like, hell with them kids. Just, I'm going to charge you 3 times what I would normally charge you. And the government says, here's your check, sir. They don't shop around. They don't pull in estimates and get other estimates. They just say, here's your check. And you've seen it on the city council in Portland where they just say, oh, we've got a bid here. All right, here's your check.
Yep.
Here's your check.
Absolutely.
There's no free bids. There's no 4 bids. It's not, War Dogs was another good movie, all this government bid, all that money. And what I'm saying is that money's got to go somewhere. So the contractor that does a gas pipe for $90,000 goes and puts it in Bank FU. Bank FU then loans out $900,000.
Yeah.
And then the $90,000 goes, where's it go? I don't know. That's the Hydra I'm talking about. That's hiding somewhere.
Well, speaking on that,
Bank FU loans the city of Portland $500,000 out of that $900,000 they just got, so that they can go put in a repair a street for $300,000. Then that $300,000 comes back. Now Bank FU's loaning out $3 million on fractional reserve banking.
Yep.
And then that money, we're going to give them here, city of Portland, have 1.5. It's a great system for the people that are sitting on the boatloads of cash like a little Scrooge McDuck, but it's inflationary, and we don't know the number.
Well, talk about the number. Talk about the money deal. Remember, it's been probably a month. We done the podcast. We talked about the comp time for the and all that.
Firefighter.
Yeah, remember they had like up to 400 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And they were trying to cut their hours, but the city already owed them that money.
Mm-hmm.
So it really didn't make any sense why they wanted to cut it and do away with it when they had already worked that time, already owed them that money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually benefiting the city. So I had a long conversation with an alderman this past week about several different things, and we got on that conversation about that. And he said, I don't agree with it, and I don't think they should have that much time. And I said, well, tell me why you think that. And he told me some of his reason. I said, well, let me put it. I said, let's say you had 20 firefighters, they had 500 comp hours each. They've already worked those hours. They've got it built up to 500. You've already owed that money. You've owed that money, say an average of at least a year. I said, you take that 500 hours comp times 20 firefighters, and you put that money in an IRA or something, building a lot of interest. That does the city good. That does the taxpayers good. Y'all are looking at it as a negative instead of being smart and using your auditor from Bank FU over there to invest that money that you should already paid out into something gaining a lot of interest to benefit the taxpayers and the whole city of Portland. He said, well, I never thought about that way. He said, well, how much money could that be? And I said, well, you just got to think about it like this way. Let's say it was 500 hours of comp time. What does it say? Say they make $25 an hour, right?
Is it per firefighter? Or is it
per firefighter? Per firefighter.
How many firefighters? That's the next number you got to add in. Let me get a calculator.
We'll say $25 an hour. Well, this is overtime. Comp time is overtime, but we'll just do the easy $25 an hour.
Well, how many firefighters are we talking?
Well, I use the number 20. Okay. All right.
20?
Just for estimation. Yeah. Times 20. That's $250,000 that you should already have paid out. But
10,000. So that's 10,000 hours. Okay. So 10,000 hours times 25 an hour, you think? It's $250,000.
That's what I said. So wouldn't it be smart to take that $250,000 that you should have already paid out? Right, that money's gone because you're going to have to pay it out. You already owe it to them, but they're holding on to their comp time for when they want to use it. Okay, they can hold on to it for a year, 2 years, 3 years. If you invested $250,000 for a year in something that builds a lot of interest, see how much money.
Well, Well, like I said, I think the reverse repo facility, basically what that was the Federal Reserve. They started a reverse repo facility, and when they started cranking the interest rates up, I think that 5% was daily. They were giving the banks daily, like 5% interest.
5%?
5% interest daily.
You'd freaking
The Fed had
then, wouldn't you?
the Fed. Yes. Oh yeah. That $250,000. What is that at 5%? 1250, $12,500. If you had, if the firefighters were allowed to put that in the Federal Reserve, that's $12,500 daily. Well, no, 25,000 would be 10%. So half of that.
Yes. So 12,500 a day.
12,500 a day. The Fed would be giving back on that $250,000. There's a lot of people, and the thing is, the only people. Bank FU has access to it because they got a charter.
If
every little bank has access to it because they got a charter.
Let me make sure I got this right. If you were able to hold on to that 12,000 or that comp time for 1 year, times that 12,500 a day, that's $4,562,500 that you gained off interest off that comp time that you already owed but hadn't paid yet.
The city's already spent it. The city's already spent it.
I understand.
This is why. Well, our conversation we had the other night when we were talking about this fractional reserve banking issue. This is why I was telling you I have no sympathy or no pity for no bank because they're crooks. They're the biggest crooks on this. On this. Absolutely. Inside of this border, they are the biggest crooks. I have no sympathy for none of them because they are drawing so much money, and if you're a rich person in town and you don't know about the reverse repo, look it up. It's a way for the banks. It was a way for the Fed to use another tool in their arsenal to get the banks to push tons of money into their coffers and get it off the street. It's the reason there's been a liquidity shortage a lot. Now the liquidity shortage is starting to show. There's cracks even coming in that. That 5% doesn't even seem enough for the banks. They're all screaming from it, and they're starting to slowly pull their cash out of it. It's draining fast.
What was the number? I think if I'm not mistaken, in 2022, the banking system.
We have no idea how much. Oh, they profited a lot.
This is what they claim. Probably $8 billion on just overdraft fees to its customers. I think that's the number. I may be mistaken, but I think that's the number. $8 billion in overdraft fees. And you think that they're here to help you. You know how many times I had, not the bank I have now because they sold many times, but I've been with the same bank for the last, I would say 25 years, but it's sold, I don't know, half a dozen times at least. Okay. But back when it was like, I don't remember if it was Cumberland or Green or what it was, Green Bank, or even maybe nearest the last time, my check goes in the bank Thursday, Friday morning at midnight. It's been like for years, right? Mm-hmm. And if you got certain things that you have coming out of your account, right, on a certain date, I know what comes out. So I've had to go in there and get absolutely disgusting with a bank manager because how they run their operation. So say I have my car payment coming out on the 21st. My paycheck goes in the bank at midnight on the 21st. All right. What the banks will do, if you don't have enough funds in there to cover that truck payment or car payment, but you would with your check going in there, they'll hold your deposit. They'll send your truck payment through. So all those other little debits, $4 here, $6 here, will overdraft along with that one. Then they'll put your check in there. All right. That's not how you run a business. My check's going in there at midnight on Thursday night, Friday morning, every week. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that should go in there first. Not, oh, hey, that truck payment's going to come out. If we go ahead and take that out, it's going to kick about 10 other things in negative, and we're going to hit him up for $300 and something of insufficient funds.
Well, they won't tell you why this, and this hit this way, and it'll be completely sporadic. I mean, you could have a charge that you messed up, that somebody messed up, that'll be pending like weeks earlier, that it's going to go back, but it's still pending. I mean, if somebody accidentally, like you slid your card and somebody accidentally overcharged you somewhere and they put a third digit on there, that pending could throw your balance down. And in the end, if that pending comes back, are they going to care if 3 charges came through while that pending was pending? No, they're not.
And another thing is they'll take your money out in a fraction of a second. But if they screwed up and they got to give you your money back, 7 to 10 days. Why does it take 7 to 10 days to get my money back? The money you wasn't supposed to take to begin with.
No, why do I got to, like the YouTuber that wanted $250,000? Why do I got to wait for you to get it?
So if any the bankers are out to help you, not.
No, I didn't know we had a whole lot to talk about this morning, Mr. Spoon, but we sure did. You know, the corrupt. Yeah, we did, but the corruptness of this school voucher system, and I'm for a voucher. I mean, I think a voucher system would be great. It would show which schools are performing, but that doesn't mean that you continue to keep the cancer school that isn't performing and nobody wants to be there. I also want to add on to that since I don't have any children biologically of my own, I don't, and I mean, all the kids are grown. They're not in school.
I'm not against state voucher run program, but I am against a government school system alongside of a state voucher run by the state. We need to get the government out of our freaking school. Each state should dictate how their school system runs. The same system that teaches our kids in Tennessee doesn't work in Washington or may not work in California or work in New York. Those people should be able to dictate what their children need to learn and how they learn it. But we also need to go back to teaching this right here and your basics of, driver's ed, home ec, all those things that the children need to be a strong member of society.
Well, my point about that was, if you have no kids, you should pay no tax towards the school system. The socialized, everyone helps fund.
That goes back to that flat tax.
They're fair tax. Yes, fair tax. That would be the government.
7%. But what I'm saying is, if you say you had 7% fair tax, that's for the federal, then your states could implement, say, a 3% tax to all people who have children.
Well, you would never that like I said, that would be hard. You would have to, if the states wanted to do the taxes on, and I would say that based on,
Okay, you're saying it's hard. Yeah, you're right. But
no. Like, the property tax.
Listen, what I'm saying is they may take your 3% out all year. But at the end of the year, you're saying no returns. You could do a state return, because if you got pulled 3% out of your check and you have no children to go towards education, at the end of the year, you could take your proof and get your saying, hey, I paid in your program all year. I've never had any children. Here's all my documentation. All right, here's your 3% back.
You could do it. I think it'd be easier to do it on the property. But then again, I had my thought about, a state bank anyway, that I still believe in that guy. What's his name? Fareed Kavari or whatever.
Me and you both know that the real fall to this country was the rise of the bankers and the Federal Reserve. That was the real
pretty much. That was where they really stitched this sucker up, over 100 years ago.
Thank you, Woodrow Wilson. Thank you, bankers.
Woodrow Wilson lamented in his memoirs later that he realized what he did. But yeah, it's too late then. They got the power.
You doing over shake and bake? Making cookies. Oh, deal.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just the guy to eat cookies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like you need a cookie.
Yeah.
But no, we ain't got too much. Just a Merry Christmas to everyone, I guess. Are you about how you on this topic? Just shelf it for today.
Yeah, I think we've hit it enough. We'll come back and talk about it some more. But
Tell them I have them a Christmas card.
Someone says they got you something. So, but we'll try to meet up with you. Yeah, you don't
I
got
got
to work
y'all.
tonight now.
I got y'all's in here. They already wrapped everything.
I gotta zip it up real quick.
Damn it, boy. Merry Christmas, Charlotte.
Lordy, I can't help it.
Well, I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and a blessed day with family and friends. I hope you.
Happy New Year. And
Yeah, we'll be back
everything
for New
else.
Year. But
are you going to be back on New Year's Eve?
yes, we
Okay.
we need to see if we can do a New Year's Eve at night, have us some glass of wine and all that. See if
I
we-
probably I'll be working. I think I got to go to work that night.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
That's on a Sunday night.
I asked work. I said, "How's New Year's Eve? Is it like Christmas?" And they said, "Nope, work." I said, "We'll be working Sunday night all the way through." Okay.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll have to have a glass of wine Sunday morning then.
Well, we could do something Sunday morning. If I've got 5 or 10 minutes, we could maybe bring in the New Year. Go live for a short one.
Yeah, there you go.
But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what time I got to dispatch Sunday night. But all right, everyone, y'all have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll see you next Sunday, I guess, according to the spoon. Is that how we're going to do it?
Merry Christmas next Sunday.